You think about like the ultimate status symbol in a game. There is always that one specific visual that just instantly commands respect from the community.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you are standing in the middle of a crowded, bustling capital city, and someone casually floats over you on a mount that just radiates exclusivity.
Yeah, everyone stops to look.
Right. And for this current patch cycle, that absolute peak flex is the Luminous Sporeglider. It is massive. It is glowing with this iridescent green light.
It is so bright.
It really is. And it immediately tells everyone around you that you have waded into the absolute worst, most toxic depths of the swamp and actually come out victorious.
It truly is the ultimate prize for players right now. And, the design behind earning it is what makes it so compelling, I think.
Because it's not random. Right?
Exactly. The developers didn't lock it behind some microscopic drop rate. You don't have to pray to an impossible random number generator for months on end. Earning this mount is entirely deterministic.
Which is such a relief.
Huge relief. You get it by collecting a very specific item, which is exactly 4 delicious spore snacks.
4 snacks to feed the giant glowing bug. I love that. And to get those snacks, you get 1 delicious spore snack every single time you defeat the raid boss, Rotmire.
Yep, just 1 per kill.
And that applies to any difficulty, right?
Right.
So whether you are casually running the Raid Finder version with a random group or, sweating it out in a highly coordinated Mythic roster, you just need 4 confirmed kills across 4 different weekly lockouts, and the Sporeglider is permanently yours.
Which means the only thing standing between you and that mount is actually understanding the mechanics of the encounter.
Right.
Because you can't just brute force your way through Rotmire. You have to really understand the puzzle.
And that is exactly our mission today. We are pulling directly from 2 primary sources to get you through this. We've got the newly released Raid Encounter Strategy Guide for Rotmire, and we also have the comprehensive Sporefall raid gear and loot tables for patch 12.0.7.
Both are essential reading.
Absolutely. So whether you are stepping into the Sporefall raid for the very first time as a fresh recruit looking to survive, or you are a seasoned raid leader trying to map out the optimal positioning for your veteran group, we have got the complete roadmap for you in this deep dive.
We're going to break it all down.
We are going to strip away the chaos, simplify the complex mechanics, and get you ready to confidently secure those 4 kills. Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the absolute baseline of the fight. What kind of arena are we walking into here?
So the baseline for Rotmire is that you are looking at a single-phase, incredibly intense, area of effect heavy encounter.
Meaning lots of area damage.
Exactly. There are no intermissions to catch your breath. There are no alternate phases where the boss disappears and you just, dodge mechanics. It is a straight brawl.
Just a slugfest.
Yeah, it is just your group, the boss, and an overwhelming amount of fungal minions swarming the arena. Because of that structural design, the strategy guide is very clear about your opening move. You need to use Lust on Pull.
Right, and for anyone new to that terminology, Lust on Pull means you are popping your group-wide haste buffs, your bloodlust, your heroism, all your major damage cooldowns, the absolute second the tank engages the boss.
Hit everything immediately.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, usually when a guide tells you to front-load all your damage like that in a single-phase fight, it applies a very specific game design philosophy.
Right.
It means the fight is going to get, significantly harder.
Oh, it gets much harder.
Or at least much more visually chaotic, right, the longer it goes on. You want to chunk down as much of the boss's health as humanly possible while the floor is still clean, and you can actually see where you were standing.
Yeah, because the floor definitely does not stay clean. The spatial awareness required for Rotmire ramps up incredibly fast, and it is just entirely unforgiving.
How bad does it get?
Well, you have 2 immediate environmental hazards to manage right out of the gate. First is a mechanic called Awaken Fungi. These are highly visible, glowing circles that appear on the ground.
Okay, classic raid stuff.
Right. And after a few seconds, ads spawn directly from these circles. If you happen to be standing inside one when it triggers, you take a massive chunk of damage and get knocked back.
So that first one is just a classic situational awareness check, right? Move out of the glowing circle.
Simple enough.
But then the boss immediately layers on a second hazard called Festering Vines. And this is where the geometry of the room gets really messy.
It's a nightmare for positioning.
So several random players get hit with a debuff that slows their movement speed, and they are marked by a prominent circle around their character. Once that debuff timer hits 0, those marked players drop a permanent puddle of tangled vines right under their feet.
And dropping those permanent puddles in the center of the room is just the fastest way to wipe your raid. You instantly lose all your operational space for the rest of the fight.
I always try to visualize festering vines, like cleaning your room when you were a kid by just shoving all your mess against the walls.
That is a perfect analogy.
Right. You have to run to the very edges of the room to drop these vine puddles. You deliberately shove the mess to the perimeter.
Keep the center clean.
Exactly. But if you get lazy and drop a vine puddle in the center of the room, it is like leaving a pile of Legos right in the middle of your bedroom floor.
You are definitely going to step on them.
You are absolutely going to step on them while trying to dodge the boss's next attack. And in a raid environment, stepping on those Legos means you get trapped, you get hit by Awaken fungi, and your entire group wipes because you just cut off their escape route.
It cascades so fast.
The center of the room must remain a clear, open dance floor for the raid to operate.
What's fascinating here is how these spatial mechanics interact with the fight's invisible ticking clock.
The invisible clock.
Yeah, so while you are doing this whole dance, the guide details a mechanic called bursting pustules. Periodically throughout the fight, Rotmire applies a raid-wide permanent damage over time effect, a DOT, to every single player.
And everyone hates a permanent DOT.
Right, but it is not just a flat, consistent amount of damage. Every single time he casts it, the DOT adds another stack.
It stacks infinitely.
Infinitely.
So the rot damage the entire raid is passively taking at minute 1 is totally manageable, but the rot damage ticking away at minute 5 is just an absolute nightmare.
It functions as a hard DPS check, disguised as a healing check. If you read the strategy guide, the instruction for bursting pustules simply says heal through.
Just heal through it, easy.
Right, easy for them to say. But that ignores the reality of resource management. I mean, healers can only output so much raw healing per second, and their mana pools are finite.
They will eventually run out.
Exactly. Because the rot damage stacks infinitely, the designers are preventing groups from using degenerate strategies like, bring in extra healers just to outlast the boss.
Oh, that makes sense.
It ensures the end of the fight is always a frantic race against time. The healers are bleeding mana trying to keep everyone topped off, and the DPS have to kill Rotmire before the sheer math of the incoming damage overwhelms the group's health pools.
So that is the real reason you use Lust on Pull.
That's it.
You are racing against that permanent, mathematically escalating DOT. Which brings us to the biggest distraction in the room, right? The thing that will actively try to stop your DPS from winning that race, which is the fungal minions.
There are so many of them.
While you are dodging Awaken fungi circles, running your festering vines to the edges of the room, and slowly dying to bursting pustules, you also have to deal with Shroomlings.
The red ones.
Right. These ads spawn in, lock onto a random player with a bright red fixate marker over their head, and just relentlessly chase them down.
And the immediate panicked instinct for a player being chased by an enemy is to just, run away. They tend to kite them aimlessly around the room to avoid getting hit.
Which seems logical at first.
It does. But Rotmire enforces a strict ultimatum against that kind of panic with his major cast, which is called Fungal Bloom.
Now, Fungal Bloom is nasty just on its own.
Yeah.
It is a massive hit of raid-wide damage, it knocks everyone back, and it applies yet another temporary DOT on top of the permanent bursting pustules DOT you are already dealing with.
It's a lot of healing required. The raid-wide damage is painful, but the crucial part of Fungal Bloom is what it does to the Shroomlings.
Right.
If any of those ads are still alive when the Fungal Bloom cast finishes, they become empowered.
And empowered is bad.
Very bad. An empowered ad in a fight with this much escalating passive damage is essentially a death sentence for the raid. The damage output is just too high. You absolutely must kill them before the Fungal Bloom cast goes off.
You can't just kill them wherever they happen to be standing. Here's where it gets really interesting. What happens after the ads die is actually more dangerous than when they are alive.
So true.
Because when a Shroomling dies, its corpse immediately spawns a bursting shroom. And if that bursting shroom isn't killed almost instantly, it explodes and wipes the entire raid.
Instant wipe.
So if players are panicking and running in random directions, and the DPS just kill those ads while they're scattered all over the massive arena, how on earth do you manage a room full of scattered bombs?
Well, you don't. It is impossible for a raid to individually target and burst down 5 scattered mushrooms before they explode.
Yeah, there's just not enough time.
Exactly. This is the core mechanical trap of the Rotmire encounter. It punishes selfish or panicked gameplay. The strategy requires intense discipline and highly coordinated clustering.
So what do you do instead?
The players who are fixated by the red markers have to fight every instinct to run away. Instead, they must actively run toward each other, dragging their Shroomlings into one tight, perfectly stacked group.
Okay, so you form a kill zone.
Yes, a single point.
You cluster them up into a single point, you use massive area of effect damage to kill them all at the exact same time, and then you instantly AoE down the tight cluster of bursting shrooms that spawn from their corpses.
It turns an impossible, chaotic targeting nightmare into one clean, highly manageable burst window.
That's brilliant.
It is an elegant solution to a chaotic problem. You hold your damage until the adds are perfectly grouped. But while the DPS and healers are managing this highly coordinated clustering dance, the boss is actively trying to break your formation by brutalizing the tanks.
Oh yeah, we have to talk about the tank damage in this fight, because the numbers are just absurd.
Really absurd.
Rotmire has a primary Tankbuster called Putrid. The boss hits the current tank with a massive spike of physical damage, literally knocks them up into the air, and then leaves them with a 75% physical vulnerability debuff that lasts for 13 seconds.
It hits like a truck.
Wait, hold on. Let me look at that again. A 75% physical vulnerability debuff.
Yep.
For 14 seconds. If the boss swings again, the tank just gets instantly deleted from the server. How is that even survivable? Healing can't possibly cover a 75% deficit on a boss that hits this hard.
It isn't survivable.
Okay, well that explains it.
Yeah, that 14-second vulnerability window inherently forces a mandatory tank swap. The boss design dictates that one tank cannot take 2 consecutive hits.
So they have to trade off.
Right. The very second the first tank gets hit by Putrid Fist, gets knocked up into the air, and takes that massive debuff, the second tank has to immediately use their taunt ability to force Rotmire to attack them instead.
So they grab aggro right then and there.
Yes, they take aggro, essentially stepping in to take the subsequent melee hits while the first tank's vulnerability debuff wears off.
That requires incredible reflexes. I mean, the off tank has to taunt the boss while the main tank is literally still in the air from the knockup.
Good air taunts, yeah.
And they have to coordinate their defensive cooldowns meticulously to survive the transition.
Right.
So that covers the baseline survival for normal difficulty.
Right.
But as we look at the guide for heroic difficulty additions, the encounter introduces a new element that, surprisingly, actually solves a logistical problem for the raid.
Which is funny, because heroic mechanics are usually designed to just add more punishment. But you are bringing up a great point about synergy here.
Yeah.
On heroic, the encounter introduces Sporecaps. Now, unlike the Shroomlings that chase you aggressively around the room, Sporecaps are entirely stationary adds.
They don't move at all.
Right. They spawn, they plant themselves in the ground, and they just cast random bolts of damage at the raid.
They act like little turrets.
Exactly.
But their most critical ability is a specific cast called Poison Burst. Now, the strategy guide explicitly states this is an interrupt mandate. You have to use an interrupt ability to stop the cast.
Non-negotiable.
If a Sporecap successfully finishes casting Poison Burst, it applies a massive raid-wide DOT. Yeah, we already know the healers are sweating over the permanent, infinitely stacking rot damage from bursting pustules.
They are already stressed.
Right. So if you combine high stacks of that permanent rot damage with an uninterrupted Poison Burst from a Sporecap, I mean, the health bars will just vanish. It is a guaranteed wipe.
The punishment for missing the interrupt is absolute. So you have a stationary ad that absolutely must be focused, targeted, and interrupted constantly.
Right.
Now think back to the spatial problem we just solved. We established that you need a specific location to cluster the mobile red Shroomlings so you can AoE down the bursting shrooms efficiently.
Oh. It becomes the perfect anchor point.
Yes.
Since the Sporecap cannot move, it is the natural center of gravity for your kill zone. The players with the red fixate markers don't just cluster randomly in the room. They deliberately drag all their mobile Shroomlings directly on top of the stationary Sporecap.
You stack the mobile ads on the static ad.
That is so clean. You interrupt the Poison Burst, your DPS unleash all their area of effect abilities to melt the entire cluster at once. The bursting shrooms spawn right there in that same tight pile, and you immediately blow those up too.
Boom, done.
When a raid team executes that sequence properly, it must be incredibly satisfying. It turns 3 overlapping mechanics into one smooth operation.
That synergy is the hallmark of a beautifully designed encounter. But that satisfaction, that comfort zone you build up in Heroic is immediately shattered when you step into Mythic difficulty.
Of course it is. It's Mythic.
Right. And before we even look at the specific in-game mechanics for Mythic Rotmire, we have to address a massive structural change that patch 12.0.7 introduced for the Sporefall raid as a whole, and that is the implementation of Mythic Flex.
Which is just a monumental shift for the community.
It really is.
For years, Mythic raiding has been strictly locked to a rigid 20-player roster. It was an administrative nightmare.
A total headache.
Like, if you had 19 people online because someone's internet dropped, you literally couldn't enter the raid.
Nope.
If you had 21 dedicated players show up, someone had to sit on the bench and miss out on loot.
Which always feels terrible.
Yeah. But Sporefall introduces Mythic Flex, which dynamically allows anywhere from 15 to 25 players to enter the raid on Mythic difficulty. The boss's health and the damage output of the mechanics scale dynamically based on exactly how many players are in the instance.
The positive implications for guild roster management are enormous. I mean, it drastically reduces the burnout on raid leaders who previously had to act like, human resources managers.
Seriously, it was his second job.
It allows for a much more organic, supportive social structure within the guild. You are no longer punishing your own community over strict attendance math.
It is such a relief to see that change. But, the actual Mythic encounter inside the instance, that is significantly less forgiving.
Way less forgiving.
Mythic difficulty introduces a brand new type of add to the Rotmire fight called the Fungling.
So the Fungling functions mechanically similar to the Shroomling we discussed earlier, but instead of a red fixate marker, it locks onto a random player with a bright green fixate marker.
So the visual language of the fight suddenly gets way more complicated.
Yeah, very colorful.
You have red markers chasing people and green markers chasing people. And this introduces the absolute golden rule of Mythic Rotmire. The corpses of the red Shroomlings and the corpses of the green Funglings absolutely cannot touch.
Ever.
Not even a little bit.
If the corpses of those two different types of adds overlap at all, they undergo a chemical reaction and spawn a Doomshroom.
A Doomshroom.
Yeah, and the strategy guide is entirely unambiguous about what a Doomshroom does. It instantly wipes the raid.
Period.
There is no counterplay, there is no defensive cooldown that saves you, there is no healing through it. It is an immediate, catastrophic failure state.
Which completely destroys the muscle memory you just spent weeks building in Heroic.
Yeah, tears it right down.
All that training about clustering everything together into one neat little pile is suddenly the exact thing that'll kill you.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is a brilliant subversion of the established player strategy by the developers. You spent normal and Heroic learning that clustering is the key to survival. Now, on Mythic, unchecked clustering is instant death.
You have to unlearn it.
Right. You still have the stationary Sporecap that needs to be constantly interrupted. You still have the Fungal Bloom cast that will empower any adds left alive. But your spatial reasoning and group coordination are now being tested on an entirely new axis.
You essentially have to split the raid's focus and create two separate operational zones.
Exactly.
You still want to cluster one type of add, the red Shroomlings, directly on the Sporecap corpse to cleave them down efficiently. But the players who get fixated by the green Funglings have to actively communicate, coordinate their movement, and kite their adds entirely across the room to a completely separate, pre-designated kill zone.
It is a lot of running.
You are managing two different clusters on opposite ends of the arena, while still dodging festering vines, interrupting poison bursts, and trying to survive that infinitely scaling rot damage.
The communication required to not accidentally cross paths with a red and green add is immense. It is an absolute positioning puzzle.
And that level of coordination demands exceptional focus from every single player, which naturally leads to the ultimate justification for putting yourself through this crucible in the first place. Why endure this level of mechanical punishment?
With the rewards, of course.
Right. So what does this all mean? Why are we running festering vines to the wall, managing infinite DOTs, and doing advanced geometry to keep red and green mushrooms from touching? We do it for the loot.
Always for the loot.
And the reward structure for the Sporefall raid in patch 12.0.7 is genuinely unique. It breaks a lot of modern conventions.
It does. The raid drops what is classified as Sporefused gear, and the defining characteristic of the Sporefused gear is that it drops at a significantly higher base item level compared to any other raid available right now in Midnight Season 1.
But there is a massive catch.
A huge catch.
It has absolutely no upgrade track. What drops is exactly what you get.
Which is wild.
In most modern systems, you get a piece of gear, and then you spend weeks farming currencies to bump up its item level later. Not here. Furthermore, the Sporefall raid does not drop any tier set armor, meaning no special class bonuses, and it does not drop any weapons whatsoever.
It is a highly restricted, very specific loot table. You are looking at exactly 2 armor pieces for each armor type.
Okay.
So there are 2 cloth pieces, 2 leather, 2 mail, and 2 plate pieces available. Alongside that, there is some jewelry and a single trinket drop.
To understand why players care, we have to look at the math behind those stats.
Let's do it.
Let's break down the specific item levels and the currencies that drop alongside them. On Raid Finder, or LFR difficulty, the Sporefused gear drops at item level 259. That is classified as Veteran tier, and completing it earns you Veteran Dawn Crests.
Stepping up to normal difficulty pushes the item level to 272, which is classified as Champion tier, awarding Champion Dawn Crests.
Then on Heroic, the difficulty most dedicated guilds focus on, it jumps to item level 285, the Hero tier, and you get your Hero Dawn Crests.
And finally, for those conquering the Mythic positioning puzzle with the red and green ads, the Sporefused gear drops at a massive item level 298. That is the Myth tier, dropping alongside Myth Dawn Crests.
Item level 298 is a colossal immediate power spike for any character.
Insane stats.
But the trade-off of having no tier set bonuses and no weapons creates a really interesting balancing act for players optimizing their characters. It forces you to mathematically decide if the raw, overwhelming stats of a 298 item level piece are worth sacrificing the synergistic set bonuses you get from lower level gear in other raids.
It highlights a deliberate choice by the game designers to make this raid serve a very specific complementary purpose in the gearing ecosystem.
It doesn't replace the other raids.
Right. It is high risk, high reward for raw stats, but it doesn't invalidate the other raids you need to run to acquire your tier sets and your weapons. It adds variety rather than just replacing everything else.
Okay, let's do a rapid fire recap for everyone taking notes, organizing their guild rosters, and getting ready to queue up.
Sounds good.
When you step into Rotmire Swamp, hit your Lust on Pull, you need those haste buffs immediately because you are racing against the permanent, infinitely stacking, bursting Pustules rot damage.
Every second counts.
When you get targeted by Festering vines, run to the edge of the room and drop your puddles against the walls. Keep the center clear, or you're leaving Legos on the floor that will wipe your group.
And tanks, you have to respect the Putrid Fist Tankbuster. You must coordinate your taunts and swap aggro the moment the first tank gets hit with that 14-second 75% physical vulnerability debuff.
Don't miss that swap.
For everyone else, your primary job is disciplined ad management. Do not panic and kill ads scattered around the room.
Group them up.
Right. Cluster the red Shroomlings tightly together, ideally anchoring them on top of the stationary Sporecaps, and make sure someone interrupts the Sporecaps' poison burst cast.
And if your group is brave enough to step into the dynamic Mythic Flex difficulty, remember the golden rule, red and green corpses cannot touch.
Keep them separated.
Keep your Shroomlings and your Funglings completely segregated in separate kill zones, or the resulting Doomshroom will end your night instantly.
Execute those fundamentals. Manage your physical space deliberately, communicate your movement, and respect the escalating mechanics.
Do that successfully 4 times. Complete 4 lockouts. Get 4 Rotmire kills on literally any difficulty that fits your playstyle, and you will walk away with 4 delicious Spore snacks.
And the mount.
Turn those in, and that Luminous Sporeglider is yours to flex in the capital city.
This raises an important question, though, regarding the overall design philosophy of Sporefall and the direction of the game.
What's that?
We are looking at a raid that offers unusually high base item level gear, but completely strips away tier sets, weapons, and the modern mechanic of infinitely upgrading those items with farmed currencies.
Yeah, no upgrades at all.
It feels completely contrary to the current progression meta we've seen for years. Is this specific raid meant to be a social experiment by the developers?
You know, it really makes you wonder if they're using Rotmire to test the waters. Like, are players actually getting tired of the modern chore of constantly grinding currencies just to push gear tracks up one tiny level at a time?
It's exhausting sometimes.
Is there a silent majority of the player base who actually prefers this old school static, what drops is exactly what you get reward structure?
Time will tell.
It's going to be fascinating to see how the community engages with this loot table over the next few months, and whether that Luminous Sporeglider becomes a symbol not just of conquering the toxic swamp, but of a fundamental shift in how we want our time and effort to be rewarded. Keep your eyes on the skies for those glowing bugs, and we will see you next time.